And then our dining room. What's cool about the dining room is we still have a nice service bar that you can set out over there. You got a beautiful view of the kitchen and all that exposed brick over here. Because it's an open kitchen, we spend a lot of time on the decor in it and money. Those guys prepping now. The chef's table if it's available. We call it that because it's right off the kitchen. You got your own little deck there. Got full with AC because we never used to have that and it's miserable. So yeah, it can seat up to 16 in here and it's obviously a beautiful room. And after dinner or even before, you can come out here into the piano bar. A bit of a mess right now. But we have live entertainment here on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. Usually Friday nights is Kathy Stock, but she's taking a little bit of a break the next couple of weeks. Tonight is Mike Hancock by the looks of things. Out here it's mostly local beers, great cocktails that Andrew Daw mostly comes up with. Again, you get the exposed brick out here, live music, and what's awesome about a piano bar is live music is not so loud that you can't still have a conversation and have a nice little date night or catch up with some friends. That's what we call the hot tub or VIP booth, whatever. Once you get through here, we also have a private events room. We just had an event yesterday, so it's set up more for a stand-up cocktail reception. It's cool, we got 2 beautiful murals done by Scott Pinn in Lab City. Again, we got that exposed brick up here. That brick's over 100 years old, I was told, so on this side. And another mural over there. And if you're ever looking to book it, you just give us a call.
When I did this, I didn't realize how much could go wrong. When you're into manufacturing, there's a lot of risks. There's a lot of checks and balances, and you know, when you're a new entrepreneur, I think the best thing about an entrepreneur is you're so positive all the time, but you really are almost too positive at the beginning. You think that you're invincible. And I totally fit that profile, you know, and I'm thinking, oh my God, people believe me when, you know, and believed in me and helped me when my business is really in a high risk industry. You know, 95% of beauty brands fail in the first 5 years. So I think that people just need to really look at what the product is that you're trying to sell, what the solution is that the product has, and where the industry is right now. So for example, if somebody was going to go into beauty, it would have to be something very unusual because there's so many natural brands out there that they're a dime a dozen. So what's going to separate you? I think people you have to have that entrepreneurial spirit to take the risk, but you also need to have mentors that, you know, bring you back to reality when your head is up in the clouds. And luckily, I've had lots of mentors that they don't have any problem bringing me down to earth. So you really need to speak to people, and you need to realize that, you know, the economy goes bad. You know, the oil downturn here in Newfoundland had a major effect on my business. Things that you have no control over are going to happen. So you have to have safety nets built in. And if you truly believe in your brand and you're married to it, then you have to make sure that no matter what happens, it's like a marriage, that you don't give up and that you keep plugging forward. When you're at the worst point in your life, the silver cloud is like right there and you don't see it. That's where you really need to focus and suck it up and continue on.
This is the first dollar Jiffy Cabs ever made. It was collected from passenger Doris Freak by driver Tony Stamp about 8:30 a.m. Monday, October 31st, 1988. And was from 24 Atlantic Avenue to CEIC RHQ 167 Kemont Road. First and my dad worked together at the provincial or at the federal government, and Doris was a longtime friend of my dad, and so I guess he told her that it was opening up, and she called first thing. I'm assuming, because that 24 Atlantic Avenue, that is her home address, and that Kemont Road, that's where they were working. This place was always, my dad always owned this place. It wasn't always the office. It was just further down the street at the original location, and then we moved down here once we closed that up shop up there. You can see here, this is probably one of the longest standing employees. That's Harry Chipman here. And back when Dad was running it, it was a shirt and tie taxi stand. It's not as formal anymore, but I mean, we can always make it back that way. When Dad started Newfound, he started it here. Newfound was in the basement and all the office work was done up here as well, so it was a two-company operation. Well, since he sold it there about a year and a half ago, they've been moved out of here and they're over on, I believe, Thorburn Road or something like that. There used to be a restriction on how many taxis you could have on per stand, but then Dad skirted the regulations by opening up another taxi stand in a numbered company's name, owned by his friend, and da-da-da-da-da. The rules and regulations were changed, so then he was able to do it above board and have two companies operating under the same owner. And that's what it was, just a way to bring in more money to support the Buren operation. And then when he sold, it was the same reason. He sold it to make money to pay for the Buren stuff. So I guess it was back when I was in high school that he started that up. And he did it on the little hush-hush at first, but then, you know, it went legit. And he was allowed to have more than one taxi stand, and more than 100 licenses. So.
And we have spent a lot of money because a lot of the research that we do, a lot of it's done in-house, but we also use NRC research labs because for instance, we're doing cancer research. We use seaweed, looking at the properties in seaweed. We make the crude extracts in-house, and then for all the animal studies, we use the NRC labs in the PEI, and we need to use equipment to get molecular structures, and now we're actually synthesizing a product, so we need to have a lot of cash to do that. Well, we have another lab, a much larger one for the biomonitoring, but that's being used all the time, and we deal with different chemicals and different ones. So we keep the fish separate from seaweed.
What particular seaweed is this?
Oh, we don't give the names of our seaweeds. That's proprietary. She's cleaning the seaweeds here. What do you do over here with this instrument here?
Oh, that's for evaporating the extracts.
Oh, that's for evaporating the extracts. We have to make it dry. Then we put it in the freeze dryer.
There's a few steps before we get there, too.
I don't know the procedures and all that, so I'll leave that up to them.
Hi, my name is Nancy Healy. I'm the CEO of the St. John's Board of Trade, your go-to place for business. If you have a pain point, we want to know about it. We have a Director of Business Solutions waiting to help you. Give us a call at 726-2961.
This portion of Entrepreneur Nailed has been brought to you by HICKEYS Timber Mart, Big Red Electric, and Dream Kitchens.
HICKEYS Timber Mart for all your home construction and renovation projects, offering fast next-day delivery and Air Miles Reward Miles too. HICKEYS Timber Mart, Harbor Main, CBS, and Torbay Road.
My name is Heather Regular. I'm the owner of Green Kitchen, and we're located on 47 Harvey Road. Our values are to provide our customers with delicious plant-based foods while being environmentally friendly, health conscious, and compassionate. We've been in business for 2 months now. With the help of the YMCA, they helped us plan our business plan and answering any questions we had along the way.
Well, my most inspirational person in my early life would be my grandmother. She's always been there to take me in when I've needed it. I've lived with her for long periods of time. When I went to university, she supported me by paying my rent. She's always been a phone call away when I need her. Even now, like, I'm so busy, like it kind of hurts me sometimes because I don't connect with her enough, but I was fortunate enough to see her 2-3 weeks ago when I was doing my trip to Halifax because she lives in Moncton, so we drove up to Moncton. I got to see her then. So she's always been a positive light in my life. Like, whenever anything goes bad, I know she's always going to be there, her along with my father. So that's definitely, in terms of my personal life, she's been a huge inspiration for me. And she's, I think, 80, she won't want me to tell her age, but she's still super active in her own life, and she's still going, and you know, if she can do it, I can do it, right? Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. We're fully booked every Friday, Saturday. I mean, again, like I mentioned earlier, we're way up this January over last January, already 40%, and we've been rocking this week, so it's pretty cool. Like, can't get a table in here, which is a good problem. And we keep the piano bar for walk-ins only, so, which we only do a bar menu in the piano bar. Yeah, so it's crazy, because last year we were up 30% over the year before, year over year. And this year, so far, we're up 40% over last year. So steady increases, right? I think we're finally becoming like part of the places to be and go. So, but it takes time to develop a reputation.
I think the biggest influence on my life has been Patrick Quinlan. I think that he's influenced a lot of people in this area. He was a bit of a rock star here. You know, he was super motivated. He was super cool. He just had that charisma that just when he walked in a room, you knew that he was there. And I'd have to say Robin too. Robin's younger than me. Robin's looking after Quinlan's now. But you know, Pat sort of trained him in over the last few years, the past 20 years, and they've been really an influence because they've shown us that you can develop a successful business in Newfoundland and Labrador, and it can be exported worldwide. Like, that's really exciting. So the fishery, I can see that because we have the history with the fishery. But when you look at Newfoundland and you look at the beautiful botanicals we have, the boreal forest, the sea botanicals, we have an opportunity to sell something to the world that is better. Like, our skincare is better because our botanicals are better. And I think that if I never had to see Pat Quinlan have the guts to drive trucks and work 13, 14 hours a day and, you know, live hard and love hard and work hard, then I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing because I wouldn't know if it was possible.
Inside here is a great spot. I mean, there's space for everyone. It's kind of like a home, but ultimately I needed more of an office, not a home. So everything under one roof just makes it all a lot simpler for us. The girls will be taking care of the books for the taxis and not only the new garage as well. So we kind of need the more space, the newer space, more updated space. Functional is probably the best word to use, a functional space.
When it's busy, you know, you're flat out. And, you know, Fridays and Saturday nights, most times you're here with 5 or 6 sheets of work in front of you. And I have to have a second dispatcher here because we're that busy on the weekends that there's not, you know, not just one person can do it, right? And you're constantly calling anybody downtown, Duckwood East, Queens Road across, Northeast, the Holiday, around the mall, right? And all the time saying, Chippy, it's surprising myself every time, right? On how much work I can do on an 8-hour shift, right? And how many calls I take and all the different people that we talk to, because again, you know, you're talking, you don't know who you're talking to on the phone, really, right? Could be anybody. Chippy Hams. Whatever, thank you. Next on 3. I have the power here with the foot pedal to cut anybody off, right? No matter who's talking, I can cut anybody off. And it just, all I hear is me, right? So if some guys are there or somebody tries to talk back or talking back and forth to each other, or if there's something going on the radio that I can't hear the passengers on the phone, just put my foot down there and cut everybody off.
Hi there, my name is Joshua Green and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Misa Smart Thermostats. The Misa Smart Thermostat is the first smart thermostat for homes that have electric baseboard heating. With Misa, you can use your smartphone to control your heating system from anywhere in the world to make sure that you're saving on energy and being the most comfortable in your home. Looking for financing in the early days of a business is really tough, and it's really important that you look for partners that trust you and that believe in you. They need to believe in your product, but more importantly, they need to believe in you. For us, Futurepreneur was that organization. The $15,000 loan from Futurepreneur was really instrumental because we were able to leverage it to get other sources of financing through the government or through private equity, but it was really important in the early days.
This portion of Entrepreneur Nell has been brought to you by Hot Tub Pros, Canadian Energy, and Home Shield Insulation.
Hey, this is Dave from Hot Tub Pros. Welcome to our brand new location, 835 Topsail Road, Mount Pearl. Hot Tub Pros, your exclusive dealer for beachcomber hot tubs and Spa Marvel, the revolutionary all-natural hot tub water treatment. We're excited and are celebrating our new location with an amazing sale event. Ask us about our 6 months, 0 deposit, 0 interest, and 0 payment event. Up to $5,300 in savings. Hot Tub Pros, 835 Topsail Road, Mount Pearl.
Entrepreneur Nell would like to congratulate Massage Ninja on their new business endeavors. Look out for Massage Ninja, mobile massage unit in your neighborhood.
Working on a medicine for dogs, and Rush is the reason why we're working on that, because I found out from his vet that there's a bacteria that dogs get and it's very difficult to deal with. So we went looking for it, and we found an extract from a seaweed that actually cures the bacteria that causes the infection. And it's dogs, cats, and dairy cows gets it. So we're going to be doing work on both. I'm looking at doing a proof of concept now for the dogs and the dairy cows. I have the medicine made up, it's done, and it's been tested now in the base, so it's almost ready to go. It'll save a lot of dogs' lives.
I gotta go pick up some dresses at Sully after if you, yeah, because they do all our dresses for the girls, which is pretty cool. That's another thing is we support local in every, like, as much as we can in every capacity, right?
There's drinks you can and drinks you can't have. Some of the ones that you really don't want to have are the most important ones. It's like yesterday when we were at lunch, if like Jeremy Bonio was like, brought out like a special bottle of wine,
yeah.
I can't very well sit there and be like, no, I'm sorry, like I've got this or that to do, you know, when it's that like one-off thing.
You
it's
have
not like
to.
you can replace it with another glass of wine. It's
Yeah,
one.
you have to.
Yeah. Sort of like, okay, all right.
We were at Merchant yesterday, and his friends at the chef there are all friends, obviously, but he brought out moose tataki, because he's worked with some Japanese chefs and stuff, so he's got some influence there, and it's not on the menu or anything, but it was so good.
Yeah, and we're in the wheelhouse of
Yeah.
I think kind of of things we like to eat.
Yeah, and what we kind of do here too, so
Yeah.
that's what separates us from other people.
Oh my God, yes, we'll definitely get a picture, and I'll send you some pictures of the packaging that I've chosen for it. It's the same color as the Wish Foundation blue. It's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, it would be. So we'll have to set up a photo shoot for them. Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Edie. Have a great day, and I hope your sore throat gets better. Awesome, I really appreciate you guys helping me too. We're not really selling a product. Really, we're selling an experience. So when a woman buys this product, she's buying the goodness of, you know, hand-picked botanicals. She's buying the promise that it was made, you know, on site. And, you know, she's also buying the idea that it's better for her skin and it's actually still going to do something. It's not a mass product. So, like when you're looking at all the competition out there, the brand promise is really important, because if you don't have a good promise to your client, there's no trust, and it doesn't do anything, then, you know, the person's not going to buy that second jar of cream. People buy a promise. They buy the beauty promise. Everyone wants to feel beautiful. They want their skin to look better.
Literally, I asked my friend who's a real estate agent to come look for a building for me, a new garage space, and he said this one is available. I knew exactly where it was. I came and looked at it, and it was just the ideal location for us to move in. Lots of parking for all our cabs, centralized location, which is huge. I mean, it's a well-known garage as it is now, which it will be now coming out in the future as well. We're waiting for approval now from council to have the zoning changed. There was a specific text amendment that needed to be amended to allow us to have a taxi stand operating out of here, not an actual stand, a dispatch center, because we can have an office in here all day, but we really want to move to dispatch up here, have everything under one roof. It's just way more convenient to have everything there, do all our own maintenance and stuff like that. It's a perfect spot. I mean, it's 6,000 square feet. You can't argue with that, right? Big enough spot. So this is the inside. 6,000 square feet. Everything that we're ever going to need should be able to be done out of here. I mean, we don't really need to expand much more than this yet, but certainly this is the right step in the right direction if we want to. A little bit of paint, should be brand new.
Well, you've heard it all before, but knowledge is power. Marketing trends are evolving constantly. Some have been around for years, while others are just a few months old. But the Rocket Killer campaign, you need to consider the past, learn from history, and then forecast for the future. Our team brings that classic knowledge, and we have our finger on the pulse of what's next. It's knowledge that brings us together and keeps us looking forward. And why? To help our clients, our team, and our community to grow. And for us, that's what it means to brand better.
This portion of Entrepreneur NL has been brought to you by Freshie, Cooper's Heating Solutions, and Bins on Demand.
As busy entrepreneurs, our well-being has a major impact on our business success. Your health affects your ability to work, to make good business decisions, and to be your most creative self. Neglecting it can have a major impact on business success. Incorporate self-care into your business strategy. Schedule time for you. Take vacations. Focus on good health choices. Make physical activity a priority. Investing time and money in your health and well-being is essential for long-term business growth and personal success.
When are we going to start parking cars over here?
Okay.
Need a hand or anything?
No, as they come by,
Yeah.
like on the phones, call Stan, tell them, they will park the cars here, see the parking here, I'll taxi back and forth.
Yeah.
That way most of them are over.
Yeah. Actually, get them almost on shift change then.
Yeah. I'm just going to grab all the other keys, now the cars are up there and get them on.
If you need to hand it to me,
No.
I got a few drivers there.
Now the 5 6 12.
Okay, cool.
All right, sir.
Thanks, Stevie.
Yeah, thanks.
So Stevie, he runs the garage operation now and will be coordinating all the maintenance and stuff like that. He's also got a couple cars on up at the stand, so he'll be able to get his work done here as well. He's a good guy. He always worked for my dad. I mean, at least 10, 15 years he's been working for my dad, or was working for my dad before I took over.
What we've discovered is even though our dining room is pretty profitable right now because our utilization rate of the dining room is pretty high. We're booked up like 4 or 5 nights of the week, and the other 2 nights is still almost a full seating in each. We're having a lot of issues with the other side of the building. I had a meeting with the landlords again today, see if they'll let us cut off the virus or the whatever you want to say, whatever is sinking us, the anchor on the other side. And if they don't, I mean, what do? You can't operate at a loss, right? So it's business, and the only other option is to find something smaller or just close it up and move on, even though this has been really successful in the last year.
Hi Cindy, my name is Lisa Walsh. I'm calling from Indigenous Skincare, and my company and a local blogger we're collaborating on launching a perfume product, natural, around Valentine's Day, and we wanted to involve Humane Services and give a percentage of our proceeds to your cause. Every year we do something and we donate a sizable amount of money to one cause, so we can make a bit of a difference. So the Humane Services, Amanda Greeley, who has a blog, Amanda and Nola, she's very big into trying to help out the local services. She's been a volunteer for years. So she decided that this is what she wanted to do as a collaboration with the brand. So I think it's really good, and it sends the right message to our clientele, who are all pretty much, cruelty-free, and they believe in what we're doing. And it's important to people when they're buying something to know what the brand promises are from the people that are making the product.
He decided he's going to cool off. Yeah, what's really good in the last few days, they finished developing the technology to synthesize the molecule. So now we can make the molecule artificially. And we can make lots of it. We can mass produce it for drug development. Well, when it goes into clinical trials with humans, it's several years in human clinical trials. But I have an appointment with the Minister of Health because I'm going to ask him if he allow the clinical trials to be done here in Newfoundland so that people in Newfoundland will have access first. We're not there yet, but we're almost there.
Production support of this program has been brought to you by Concrete Products.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
What do you say we talk about some of the great Canadian game shows? Canada seems to have the largest singular swath of talent.
I think the popularity of game shows is just as strong today as ever.
Canadians do fun really well.
They entertain an awful lot of people.
Behind every Canadian game show, there's a story.
Hey guys, how are you? I want to talk to you about this shirt I got on. It's part of an initiative that Rogers is putting off across the country called Hearts and Smiles, where sales of these shirts or masks go back to help the frontline workers who are given so much right now to help keep us safe. And so, on International Nurses Day, I want you to do your part. Head over to heartsandsmiles.ca, buy a shirt, buy a mask, and show your support for the frontline workers across the country. Thanks to Rogers for this great campaign. Come on, get involved, heartsandsmiles.ca.
So we're here. We're here with Jonny Harris. First off, thank you so much, Jonny, for joining us and giving this great opportunity.
Well, listen, thanks so much for inviting me, Ian. From the little bit that David has told me about the Academy, it sounds like an incredible community project. So I'm flattered that you asked me to participate.
Yeah, it's certainly it's been wonderful, and it's great to have material like this that we can do and give our kids a chance to ask some questions to a Newfoundland artist that's been quite successful in the crafts that we all love. So, Johnny, I'll ask one of my favorite questions. I host a show on Rogers here in Corner Brook called The Stage Door,
Mhm.
and it's all about theater, what's going on. And my favorite question to ask is a tricky one of what was the big moment when you realized, hey, the arts is something I really want to do?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not proud of the story, Ian. I was in high school, and a buddy of mine, he said, "Hey, I've got a great plan where we can miss a bunch of classes." And I said, "How can we do that?" And he said, "If we get on this set crew for the school play." I said, "What does that mean?" He says, "We'll be building set pieces and moving sandbags and bringing them to the drama festival." And I thought, great, if I can miss some classes doing that stuff too. But when I got there, I became a part of the set crew. And Kevin Lewis was the drama teacher at Holy Heart at the time. And so I was on the set crew and I got to miss a few classes. But when I saw the drama festival, when I saw all the plays that the different schools were putting on, I thought, wow, this is such a cool thing. It's the coolest thing that I had witnessed in high school. And I thought, I'm going to get on the set crew again next year. And next year rolled around and I thought, you know what, maybe why not audition? And I auditioned and I got a very small part actually. As a part of the ensemble cast, I had to be a tree at one point. So I sort of had to do this for a couple of hours, swaying in the wind. And but I was the best tree I could be. But anyway, that's how I got into theater in high school. And it really saved me a bit. I wasn't showing a whole lot of promise in other areas of school. And I sometimes joke, I say my parents were the only parents to ever recommend theater school to their child. My parents said, there's this great theater program in Corner Brook. It's part of Memorial University, which they were both sort of affiliated with. And I thought, I didn't have other plans. I thought, okay, I'll do an audition and see if they'll take me at Grenfell. And that's, and I was so lucky. The class I landed in at Grenfell too was a really good, we got along well. There was a bunch of talented actors. The faculty there was solid at the time. The English department, we had to take some English and history electives. The profs at Grenfell in those departments were excellent. And I really enjoyed my time there. And then Ian, sorry, I'm being long-winded, but that segued into a summer at the Theatre Newfoundland and Labrador Festival in Cowhead, and then a few summers in Trinity Bay at the Rising Tide Theatre Festival, and that was it. I was going down that path.
Absolutely. I think, it's great that you brought up playing a tree because, of course, we're doing Into the Woods. So there's lots of trees, and that's the show we're kind of working on through this digital system now is working on a lot of that, in which a lot of the cast is part of the forest at some point.
Yeah.
They weave in and out of trees, they become trees, they move trees, all that good stuff.
That was another that was something that really inspired me also. There was a production at Holy Heart of Into the Woods, and Mark Critch was the narrator. Davenant Doyle was one of the actresses, one of the singers in it. And when I saw that a local production could pull off a top-rate musical like that, I was blown away. I thought that was very inspiring.
Absolutely. No, musical theater is certainly one of our programs that we offer, and it's a lot that we really love to do to bring out the potential in a lot of these kind of shows that have been adapted to junior versions so that younger performers can take them on.
That's excellent.
So, of course, while we're on the topic of theater in Newfoundland, and especially the Grenfell Theater Program, we do have two grade 11 students. I should say we have people from, I think, we have some of our rising stars, which is grade 1 and 2 watching, right up to our junior ensemble, which the oldest is in grade 11. And
Okay.
2 of those grade 11s are really considering going to Grenfell to do a theater degree when they graduate. So, you know, what do you recommend to someone who's looking at that program as an option?
Listen, I had an excellent time there. I thought the faculty was excellent. There was some of the electives that I wasn't fussy about taking. I really enjoyed some of the history, English. There was a theater history class that Ken Livingston taught, who's no longer with us, but he was just a brilliant speaker. And the level of production, you know, so there are students that are taking you know, set craft, and then there's also the actors. You have to dabble in each other's areas of expertise and learn a little bit about what the other one does, which is interesting. And the fact that it was a production-based program, you know, we were part of a major production with great, incredible level of costuming and set pieces, an intense amount of direction and rehearsal. Every semester, I spoke to other actors after who say, oh yes, I went through a program in Alberta or here or there, and who really did one big production at the end of their 4 years, at the end of their bachelor's degree. And we were in several, and which I think is important because you learn not just from your directors and your profs, but from the other, your you know, your classmates. And you know, you see how different people have different styles, and you see what somebody does well and try to adopt a bit of that, and see, you know, some other skills that somebody else has. So you know, it's been a while since I've been there. I graduated in 1990, but so it's been a long time since I'm sort of out of the loop with the program now. But I had a great time, really formative years. Met some friends that I'll have for the rest of my life, and I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Well, that's certainly great to hear. And of course, the great thing about doing a theater program and making those connections is you get to make them again and again and again. You know, you get to get a part in something and, oh, hey, you're at school same time I was, and you reconnect over and over, you know?
Yeah, I've worked so many times in theater and in TV with people who've been through that program. People who were in my very class. So it's, yeah, it was a great experience.
And of course, speaking on one of those connections is, of course, David Meggs, our Grossmore and Sarah Music Artistic Director. His sister, Adriana, directed you in a film not too long ago now.
That's right. Yes, in Goalie. Well, yeah. I've done a couple of movies for Adriana, actually. One called Grown Up Movie Star and another called Goalie, which I think might be airing tonight on CBC in lieu of Hockey Night in Canada. Yeah. I think they're going to have Movie Night in Canada, and Goalie might be airing this evening. So I've a very small part in that, in a very small role in that movie, but essentially just 2 scenes, but really tasty ones. I got a nice little bit in that one.
Yeah. So just going on through now, and just a reminder to anyone who's tuning in, if you have any question, send me a private message in the chat so I can know that you have a question for Jonny, and we can pass that along and make sure that all of those get answered. So the next one I have for you is about sketch comedy. Yeah. So we're in a world that is evolving constantly, that our media is so fast. We're getting the update almost instantaneously. So to be a sketch comic, someone who's writing based on what's going on, must be quite tricky to do in these times.
Absolutely, yeah. When you're trying to write topical sketch comedy, certainly. You know, I did a stint as a staff writer at This Hour's 22 Minutes. And so that was the pressure from that job, is you felt you felt a little bit like you could never relax Like you had to stay on top of the headlines. Even on your days off, you thought, okay, if I don't have a newspaper in my face, I'm not going to be ready for Monday morning. So you really need to sort of keep up on current events but then there's also, I was with the troupe, sketch comedy troupe, the Dance Party of Newfoundland, and in that troupe, it wasn't as topical. It wasn't, political satire or news satire. It was just sort of zany, wacky sketches, so they could be a bit more timeless. And the nice thing there is, of course, you can perform those sketches for years, and they don't become outdated immediately, as is the case with political satire.
Mm-hmm.
Although there's probably a few Donald Trump jokes that you could tell today that you could still tell in 5 years from now.
Yeah, certain things I don't think we'll move on from too quickly.
No.
And of course, one of your major roles has been Murdoch Mysteries, which has had an incredible number of seasons, has been very popular in Canada. So, congratulations on maintaining that, first of all.
Thank you. It's unprecedented. I mean, it's I guess we're one of the longest running shows in the country now. I think Heartland maybe started a year before us, and they're still going.
Mm-hmm.
We're creeping up into like Beachcomber territory now. So we're gonna shoot again this summer, and that will be season 14. So yes, it's been an incredible run, and I give a lot of credit to the writers. They keep coming up with interesting stories for each episode, and there's pros and cons to it. Going with a show that long, it becomes, if it loses any excitement after the years, it can be made up in the fact that it's you develop a certain level of comfort with your character. I don't go on to set of Murdoch Mysteries thinking, oh, how am I going to play Crabtree in this scene? It's sort of there after so many years. You sort of got to trust what you've been doing, and it becomes less stressful, which is nice.
Absolutely. And one of the kind of questions that's come through is, playing the same character for 13 seasons right now. It's one thing I love about TV is you get to see these characters grow and change a little bit and develop, because they get more fleshed out. They become more and more real, and sometimes that means a big shift for the character. So what's it like getting to fill those shoes, for 13 seasons?
Well, I really enjoy, when I get some of the a little bit more dramatic stuff. Obviously my Crabtree's role on the show is to provide some lighter moments, some comedy relief. But they've also written quite a few more intimate storylines with relationships and enemies that he's encountered. Crabtree's been to jail, and and I think that's true for the other actors too. I think Yannick and Helene and Tom, who play Murdoch, and Julia Ogden and Inspector Brackenreed, I think they sort of enjoy the scenes where they get to be a bit light and funny. So the grass is always greener, right? But yeah, the character does develop over time. I sort of like what they've done with. They've done a lot of interesting stuff with Crabtree. I remember, if I have any advice, I think sometimes you can't overthink a role. I mean, it's important to think and develop a character and think about it. But I used to worry a lot when I read the scripts. I thought, is Constable Crabtree smart or dumb? I can't figure it out. In some scenes it seems one way. In other scenes, in some he's very highly intelligent and articulate, and then he believes some really outlandish theories. And eventually I just sort of stopped worrying about it, and I played each scene sort of for what it was, and I think it's worked out all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, being a fan of the show, I can certainly say I enjoy watching all the episodes, and it is true. There's a lot of antics with Crabtree, but there's also those kind of heartfelt moments that sneak up on you.
Yeah, it's like after that many years, yeah, you get to do a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course your other show that you're currently running as well is a bit of a kind of passion project for you with Still Standing. So,
Yeah.
what is it like being a part of that and getting to go to all these wonderful places with all the character?
Well, it's amazing. We just got renewed, and so this will be our 6th season. So time flies, and knock on wood, and all the rest of that. But it's been unbelievable. I mean, we get to go to places that you would never otherwise get to go to, that you would never otherwise think to go to. And it's nice to say we've been in every province and territory now. And yeah, it's really been a bit of you can't help but fall in love with the country when you see that much of it, and you get to see so many. We're looking for the positive in each place that we go. So when you hear so many stories of tenacity and optimism, and people who are really selflessly engaged in their community, doing things like you guys are doing, things that people who are just creating and developing positive, good projects and good vibes for their community. And you really sort of, you really learn to appreciate that. And, you see a huge spirit of volunteerism all around the country. And you see people who are, when they're faced with an option of whether to laugh or cry in tough times, you see that a lot of people choose to laugh.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think the resilience in a lot of those smaller places especially is quite amazing to be able to see that and continue to be a part of it, especially when it happens here,
Yeah, there's a certain resilience and sense of humor that I perhaps naively thought was sort of particular to Newfoundland, and because you see a lot of it in Newfoundland. But I tell you, there's a lot of little corners of Canada where things haven't gone so well that people share that same attitude.
Mm-hmm. And I know for me, being a bit of a kind of theater history buff, it certainly reminds me a little bit of some of the roots of Canadian theater, like the farm show, where a theater troupe went to these small farms and actually worked on them.
Is that right?
To know the characters. It's quite and then people loved it because they got to see themselves on the stage,
sure.
in the final show.
Yeah, I like the history of it. The collective theater programs. I mean, the old Codco gang, Mary Walsh, Andy Jones, and those guys used to get together and create some of those shows. And yeah, everybody. They say people like to see a mirror of their community shown back to them. So it's sort of timeless.
Absolutely. And what would draw you to a community when you're looking at the communities that you want to choose for Still Standing?
I think we have a team. We've got a couple of researchers in our office, so we're really looking for a survival story, an interesting story. So we're looking for a town that might be struggling economically, but this is FaceTime coming in. I'm going to deny that. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, we're looking for survival stories. Maybe it's a town that's lost its main industry, and people, but we want to see a town where people are rallying. Where people are trying to make things better. A town that's trying to reinvent itself. And also for me, I'm a bit of a history nerd, or at least I have become since participating in this show. And so an interesting slice of history for me is really, if you're somewhere in Manitou Beach, Saskatchewan, and you find out that, Al Capone used to smuggle liquor from that area across the border, or if you're if you go to Belle Island and you learn the story of iron ore freighters that were sank by German submarines during the Second World War, I think if you can get a really sort of flashy, very fascinating piece of history like that, it makes my job writing easier because it's the story is entertaining in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully I'll make it a bit funny, but it's entertaining on its own.
Yeah, so that's the end of the formal interview, but we have a couple questions that we want to open up to our students to be able to ask.
Okay.
So I just took notes on a couple of them that I saw. So like I said, if you have any questions, just send me a private message and hopefully we'll be able to get to some of them. So Joel, if you could bring Violet's mic live, she has a question about advice for writing. So Violet, once you're live now, if you want to ask your question for Jonny.
Hi. I was just wondering, you were talking about sketches and comedy sketches. For any aspiring writers or comedy sketch writers, do you have any advice for boosting their confidence and just being more sure of yourself and confident in what you're writing?
Violet, I don't know if I do. That is an excellent question. Confidence is the hardest thing to come by. And if you do get bitten by this bug and you continue to write and perform comedy, it may be something that will always be an issue. It is for me. I still find, even though Still Standing has gone for several years, and I still worry about, if some of the jokes I write are funny or not. If you're doing sketch comedy, it's kind of cool because it's not solely on your own shoulders. You get to bounce ideas off some friends. You get to argue with your friends about what the good ideas are or are not, and that will happen as well. But it's a great question because confidence is a big part of the game, and all you can really do is try your hand at it and get out there and try to do some writing, try to get a couple of shows up on stage, and it may always be a challenge, but it's something that you'll learn to deal with as you go. But it's confidence. That's the tough one. That's half the battle, I tell you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
All right. Thanks, Violet, for asking that. I see that Amy Andrews has just connected to us now. And Jonny, it's my understanding that when you were in Corner Brook, you were in a production of Guys and Dolls that Amy actually choreographed.
Yes. And I'm not much of a dancer.
But you could move.
Okay, well.
I got you moving. It's good, Jonny. You did a good job.
Listen, you did a fantastic, as you always do on all your productions. But I remember some of the stuff we did in Guys and Dolls. And moving around in those gangster suits wasn't the easiest. In our pinstripe suits wasn't the easiest thing.
3-piece suits with hats and the whole thing.
Yeah, our fedoras and all that. But it was great. I remember, I think I cheated a little bit though. I know you had a few numbers that were choreographed with big sort of roll, with the guys playing the dice games and the big sort of flashy rolls and movements. And I think I just sort of ran around in the background pretending I knew what I was doing. But
Yeah, you and Mike Payne ducked out of that one pretty quick.
Leave it to the pros.
It's actually funny because Guys and Dolls was recently done here in Corner Brook by the junior high, by Corner Brook Intermediate. They did Guys and Dolls Junior. So a couple of the people with us were involved in that show. So they're very familiar with all those dice rolls and fancy tricks.
It was a fun one. And actually, Ken Jacobson from the English department at Grenfell played one of the leads in that, and he was fantastic. The whole cast, it was a phenomenal cast from the community.
Yeah, and I know Israela knows Ken for sure from church. Big excited reaction there when they heard that name. Next up, we have a question from Jesse. So Joel, if you could activate Jesse's mic there. Just one moment.
Hi.
Hey.
Which do you prefer, stage or film TV?
Well, that's a good question too. There are certain, there's some fundamental differences, pros and cons to either. I guess camera work is a little easier because you can fool up, and everybody does, so it's no big deal. You're expected to know your lines and everything when you get there, but everybody flubs a line every now and then. You don't get the amount of rehearsal that you do for stage work. So, you come in knowing your lines, and then you have a brief blocking session with the director, and you figure out who's going to stand and move where, when. And then you shoot the scene. And the other thing is you shoot the scene multiple times. So they move the camera around. So you get a lot of tries at it. And anytime you flub a line, you just collect your thoughts and start again. And it's a very normal thing. So in a way, that's low pressure, as opposed to on stage where you really got to have your material down pretty tight. Of course, the wonderful thing about stage is the immediate payoff. There's nothing better than being on stage and delivering a joke and people laugh. A theater full of people laugh at your joke. When you're doing camera work, you really have no idea how you did for a few months until the film or TV show has been edited and you finally see it on TV. So those are what I would say are the fundamental differences between the two. As for which I prefer, that's tough to say. Also, camera work generally pays a little better. but I feel very fortunate that I'm able to do some of both right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thanks, Jesse, for that question. I see Lydia has a question. She wants to know, what is your favorite show that you've been a part of? Hard question.
Well, that is my favorite show that I've been a part of. I would say, Still Standing is